Yes. Uh, Today we're gonna continue elasticity, and this time we will see the graph topic 3 inelastic demand. Once we set the perfect 3 inelastic demand, the elasticity equals 0. See this graph. Okay. You will see the graph here. Okay, so see the meaning of a perfect tree inelastic demand. Elasticity equal 0. Okay, okay, you can see the graph here. Okay, price increase from $4 to $5. Okay, then it equal to increased. We can divide this one, and then maybe it's a 22%, right? Increase 22% increase price. So 22%, and once even we have a price rising 22%, but if you see demand here, the demand line elected vertically once there is a price rising, right? So the quantity demanded unchanged. You can see once this bar is elected vertically, then there is no change. Okay, 100 quantity is sustained regardless of price rising, right? So in this case, we called perfectly inelastic demand, meaning that inelastic equal 0, right? There is no any slope. There is no any inclination. There is no any intercept here, right? So because this is vertical, unchanged. Okay, so once unchanged, we said elasticity is a 0, right? 0 because elasticity is determined by razor divided by run, right? So as this bar, this graph is elected vertically, there is no run and there is no rise. Okay? Once this bar is lying slope like this, for example, okay, then we can calculate, here, for example, okay, this angle, again, this is run, this is rise, okay, slope can be calculated, rise divided by run, right? And this is slope, but in this case, once this bar is elected vertically, there is no run and there is no rise, so the quantity in this case demanded unchanged, meaning that there is no run and there is no rise, so the result is a 0, meaning that there is no elasticity. Okay, in this case, once elasticity equals 0, we called that the perfect tree inelastic demand. Okay, perfectly inelastic demand. Okay, in this case, one can imagine that even price changed, there is no variation. There is no changed. Okay, there is no changed quantity demanded. Okay, might be necessity product. Okay, in your life, even though you have an increase of price, you cannot processing that because that is a necessity in your life. Okay, in this case, perfectly inelastic demand, that elasticity equals 0, right? So we can imagine the product which show this phenomenon, right? Which show this problem is a necessity. Okay, necessity. The product which is necessity in your life. Okay. Okay. We can see next. The next graph. Okay, we will move a little to the right. In this case, this is quite different from graph A, right? Perfectly inelastic demand. This is different. This is different from graph A. Graph B is inelastic demand. Okay. In this case, elasticity is less than 1. Less than 1, right? Okay, what is the meaning of less than 1? See that. Graph A, we have no variations of quantity demanded, even though there is variations of pricing, okay? But number 2 graph show that there is quantity demanded, changed, okay, changed. Then it changed certainly, but we have to calculate how much demand quantity changed according to variation of pricing. Okay, the same. The price changed from 4 to 5, from 4 boxes to 5 boxes, right? Then the same increased 22%. Okay, in price, 22% increase. Then we have a little variation in quantity demand. Here, from 100 down to 90, then we have a 10 diminished, right? We have 10 diminished. Okay, we have 10 diminished. Okay. Okay, 10 whatever, okay? The product is diminished, reduced, right? Then we can divide it, the elasticity of demand, okay? Elasticity of demand. Then we will divide the quantity changed, right? Quantity changed, we have 10 quantity changed, okay? Then how much? This is from 100 down to 90 is the converted percentage, 11%. This is corresponding to 11%, right? Okay, here is 11. And we have already changed 4 to 5, then increase 22% increase here. Okay, let me erase this one. Okay, let me erase this one. 22%. Okay, this is 22%. Okay, so 22% divided by 11, then it is a 10%, right? exactly 10%. Okay, but we have to calculate it 20 to 11 like this. Okay, 20 to 11, then it is a 0.5. Okay, 0.5. Okay, 0.5 is less than 1. 0.5 is less than 1, correct? 0.5 is less than 1. Okay, fine. Once the price change 22%, quantity change 11%. Okay, then 11 divided by 22, then the consequence of this equation is 1.5. Okay, 1.5 is less than 1. Is less than 1. Okay, once the consequence is less than 1, we call this is also inelastic. Okay, inelastic. Okay, but we delete perfectly, the term perfectly. Okay, comparing to graph A is described as a perfectly, right? As you can see here. But graph 2 also that is called inelastic because you know the variations you know the quantity divided by price is less than 1. Okay, less than 1. This is not. This is the right formula, right? This is the right formula. Is less than 1, right? 0.5 is less than 1. So we call this, in this case, 2 is the inelastic. But this is not as expressed in graph A. This is not perfectly. Once we call the perfectly, there is no inelastic. The inelastic is equal to 0 in this case, right? So we should compare these two, inelastic demand and perfectly inelastic demand. Both of concept is differ. Okay, it's different. Okay. Okay. In this case, for example, uh, in this case, inelastic. Okay, inelastic case that even we have a big increase, bigger increase than variations of demand. Okay, once these increases, okay, increase per pricing is less than 1, we call this one also inelastic. Okay, uh, number 1, graph A is perfectly inelastic. Graph V is not perfectly but inelastic. Okay, so we can compare these two. In this case of B, we can assume that in this case the product is also a little elastic because even we have increase of pricing, but we have less increase than pricing. We have less increase of demand. I mean less decreasing, okay, of demand than increase of price. Okay, so in this case we have to refer to, okay, again you can watch these two graphs with a comparison, right? See that this graph 2, I will show you this one too. Okay, here we can see that we have two graphs. The both graph has a price changed, right? Price changed. you can see that the price changed, right? But one graph showed that no variations of demand. So the demand curve is not covered. It's a vertical bar, just a vertical bar. There is any cover. There isn't any cover, but once you see the B, the inelastic demand, you have a left bowed cover. Okay, left bowed cover, meaning that we have a little inelastic, but that inelastic is that elasticity is less than 1. Okay, we have a little elasticity, but that elasticity is less than 1. Once elasticity is less than 1, we called inelastic. Okay, this one also we can imagine the product in this case is a little necessity. Because of necessity, people are willing to buy that product even they have a price increased. Okay, they have a price increased. Okay, this is the example of inelastic and perfectly inelastic. Okay, and you can easily imagine the product corresponding to these two cases. Okay. I need to lessen this too. Okay. And let's see the main figure. Let's see the main figure here. This one, elastic demand, unit elastic. The unit elastic is compared to perfect inelastic. Okay, the meaning of it's a unit elastic demand, meaning that the elasticity equal to 1. Okay, the meaning of 1 is once 1 unit of price changed, the 1 unit of quantity changed. Okay, 1 unit of quantity changed. Let's see this one. Okay, then meaning that the quantity changed as much as the pricing. Quantity changed as much as pricing. Okay, see that? Okay, here is the graph. Elasticity equal to 1. Okay, elasticity equal to equal to elasticity equal to 1. The meaning of 1 is the same rate variations, meaning that once price increase, this is price, this is quantity. Once the price increase, the quantity decrease according to the economic principle, right? According to the economic principle. This is the unit elasticity. Okay, we called this one unit elastic demand, meaning that in this case elasticity equal 1. Okay, elasticity equal 1. see this graph then. Okay, we have increased, used to be 4 to 5. Okay, this is the same variations of graph 1 and graph 2. In graph C, the same. This rate can be divided, right? Okay, then it is 22, right? It's 22% increased, right? 22 price increased, okay? Then, right? Okay, this is $1 increase from Paul, right? And this is 22%, right? Okay, 22% increase. And then because $1 increase of 4, right? And here from 100 down to 8. Obviously, this can be calculated easily by sight, right? Then this is also 22% decrease. Okay, then we have a pricing 22% price increase, and we have a 22% quantity decrease. Okay, this is increase. Okay, then the consequence of this arithmetic is 1, meaning that once price 1 unit changed, quantity 1 unit changed. Okay, the same rate. Okay, the same rate. So the same rate, number one symbolizes that the same unit, elasticity. Okay, once the price 1 unit changed, okay, 1 unit increase, the 1 unit decrease, okay, 1 unit decrease of quantity. Okay, in this case, we called unit elastic demand. Unit elastic demand. In this term, unit means equal 1. Okay, equal 1. Understand? Okay, so we have studied the 3 graphs. Number A graph is perfect inelastic. Number 2, inelastic, not perfect, just inelastic. And number 3 is unit elastic demand. Okay, unit elastic demand. In this case, okay, elasticity equal 1. Elasticity equal 1. Okay, understand that? Okay, then we will go to below figure and we'll find what this figure stand for. Okay, we can see that figure D. Let's see it. What the figure D is trying to say. Okay, figure D, the title of figure D, elastic demand. Elasticity is greater than 1. Once the elasticity is 1, we call that is a unit elastic demand, right? Unit elastic demand. Then once elasticity is bigger than 1, what is the meaning of the bigger than 1? Once the price changed 1 unit, quantity changed more than 1. Okay, quantity changed more than 1, right? Quantity changed more than 1. In this case, we called elastic elastic demand, elasticity is greater than 1. So this is, in this case, the elasticity is greater than 1. Okay, we can call this one. Okay, what can happen then in this case? In this case, once price goes up 1 unit, the quantity demand reduced bigger than 1 unit, meaning that in this case the product belong to this phenomenon. Product belong to this phenomenon is not so necessity. Okay, it's not so necessity. Okay, sometimes it can be a luxurious product. Sometimes, okay, sometimes it must be luxurious product. Okay, in this case, once price goes up, it doesn't necessity. Okay, it doesn't necessity to keep the quantity of the product. Okay, because this is jurious product. This is jurious product, not necessity product for the human life. Okay, so in this case, we can imagine that once phenomenon comes like this, then we can easily imagine that the product is not so necessity. Okay, it must be a luxurious. So it must be a luxurious. So you don't have to buy the product even you have a big fluctuations of price or increase of pricing. Okay. Okay. So we can imagine that in this case the product is not so necessity. Sometimes might be a luxurious product, okay, like jewelry, decoration, like that, right? So it doesn't matter whether you have to purchase it, even you have a big increase of pricing, so it is not so necessity to buy that. Okay. Then let's see the figure next time E. Okay, figure E titled perfectly elastic demand elasticity equal infinity. Infinity. Okay. In this case, we express infinity. Okay, infinity. Okay, this one, let's see that. Okay. This is the guideline of this figure. The price guideline is 4. Okay, this is 4. And it is quite important. The price level above 4 and below 4 because okay, your demand will sustainable. The quantity will how? Okay, tremendously change as you can see. Okay. Okay. Once see that at the price of below 4 from here, from this area, go. Okay. So the quantity demand is infinite. Okay. Below the 4, once the price of product is below the 4, the demand will go infinite. Go, just go, right? Demand, go. Okay. But at the price above 4, the demand is 0. There is no demand. Okay. the demand quantity changed tremendously according to guideline price. Okay, according to guideline price. Okay, once the price of a certain product increase above a certain pricing, there is absolutely no demand at all. But once the price goes down again to a certain point, then demand for that product is intimate. Okay? So we can imagine what kind of product belong to this kind of a graph. Okay? This kind of a graph. Okay, see that? This is your assignment to verify that what kind of product I belong to, illustration E. Illustration E, okay? The demand for certain product is tremendously changed, right? On the basis of according to certain guideline of pricing, right? Guideline of pricing. Okay, let's see the next then. Next illustration show the applications and elasticity. See that? In this graph, we will learn the total revenue. Okay, revenue. The total revenue. The revenue, total revenue means the earned and spent amount both by seller and buyer, right? Seller and buyer is total. This is total amount. Total amount. This is total amount. Share and buyer. Share and buy, right? Share and buy. Okay, here, look at this. This is the same amount, which is equal, I guess. This point means that supply and demand meet, right? This point is the meeting point. Spend the quantity and supplier. Okay, supplier provide product at this pricing, and buyer meet also the same pricing, so they purchased this amount. So this area, the Federer, the line draw Federer to meet this point, and from this point vertically down to regional is the area. This area is the just area of a revenue, meaning that if the price multiply quantity, then this is the total revenue of the supplier, and at the same time this amount is purchased by buyer, right? So this can be referred from elasticity, the meaning of elasticity. So we will see next that how this point will be changed, right? As this point is changed up or down, the area will be differ, because if this point is just a point meet together price and quantity, right? So if this point to move up along the line, then we can draw and estimate it. Okay, if this is the point, then vertically down, we can see that we have a reduced quantity here, because this is less figure here, right? Less number, and this is a bigger number. If you go right, if you go left, okay, even it is not written here, we can estimate the right, okay, and then the figure must be reduced, right? Here, as we go left, but as much as we have increased, okay, as much as this point to move up along the line, then we can also estimate the price is raised, right? Price is raised. Because this is $4, and then if you go offer, it is natural the price will be increased, right? For example, it's $5 here. Then okay, then the problem is now we needed to compare, right? We needed to compare the area changed and before. The area before, we have a 4 multiplier 100, then that is 400 US dollar revenue, right? Then look at this. This is 5 increased, right? The price increased $1, and but if look at this, the quantity reduced, maybe this may be a 9. Assume that. Let's assume that this is 90, then 90. That is get this. Okay, we have extra once price $1 increase, but quantity reduced 10, then the revenue will be increased as much as $50, right? $50 more increase. Okay, once quantity reduced as much as 10 reduced, okay, because even we have a reduced quantity, but it was made up for by the increase of this pricing $1. We can easily compare these two as a consequence of this equation, right? And then let's see the next. Okay, when even we have increased of pricing, but the reduction of quantity, the meaning of quantity is purchasing, right? The buyers only reductions for purchasing the product was 10, then even the price increase, there is extra revenue 40, but let's go more, even 5, but we have a decrease 20, so total purchasing quantity 80, then the price is the same, right? Revenue is the same. Even we have increased $1 price up, but as we have rules for the quantity as much as 20, then even we have increased, but there is no impact there is no effect comparing to original quantity, original revenue, right? This revenue is the same, right? The same as the original revenue, $4.100 quantity. Okay, then let's go more. We have fixed raise up price raising, but we have reduced up to 70, right? 70. Then this time we have a damage for the revenue, okay, to the revenue. So in this time 350, then we have 50 reductions in quantity, right? 50 reductions, meaning that we have 50 loss of revenue, okay, 50 reductions. Okay, this is as showing these illustrations, we can easily detect that the elasticity applications. Okay, so as we see the elasticity, we can estimate our consequence of revenue. So this is the showing the applications of elasticity and its consequence. Okay, it's a consequence. So this area, this territory, okay, which means once we draw the line in horizontal and vertical from the point price and quantity met. So this area is just the area which means selling, and I told you again, and quantity. Okay, so this is the revenue area. Okay, this is the revenue area. So we can summarize that the impact of price change on total revenue, right? So this illustration shows that the impact of a price change which makes on total revenue. The revenue means the product of price and quantity. Okay, this area to meet the price and quantity. Okay, the revenue we can detect easily, right? The revenue depends on the elasticity of demand, right? Okay. So in this case, we can estimate that elasticity is how is the elasticity, right? Inelastic or elastics. As we saw that the consequence of revenue, right? As we saw the consequence of revenue, right? So this result can be easily calculated by simple arithmetic. Okay, by simple arithmetic. So this show that the elasticity, okay, of how the elasticity is inelastic or elastics. Okay, then we can go the next. Okay, we can go to next. Oops. Okay. Okay, this is brief explanations. The content just we have studied. So I will check it out with you, the text. of the book. The impact of price change on total revenue, I told you. The total revenue, this revenue means the point, the area once the price and quantity meet, right? I told you this area, okay? The impact depends on the elasticity of demand. In panel A, I told you, panel A, the demand curve is inelastic. Okay, because the meaning of inelastic is the quantity of product to be purchased by the consumer is not as much as price increased. Okay, inelastic means that the price here and then quantity here, this is less than 1, right? Once divided quantity by price, it is less than 1, right? Meaning that the change of quantity according to price increase or decrease is not exceeding as much as price change. Okay, so the result, the consequence of arithmetic is less than 1. Once this consequence is less than 1, we called this one is inelastic, right? Inelastic. So once the curve is inelastic, okay, the demand change is not as much as the price change. Okay, so then we can imagine then what kind of product can be belong to this kind of inelastic demand. Inelastic demand. Maybe that product is not much influenced by pricing, right? Like necessity of the human life. Okay? The necessity goods are stable in demand, whether there is increase or decrease of the price. For example, the rice. Okay, rice. Okay, rice is the main stuff for the human beings in Asian countries, and the price of rice can be fluctuate in sometimes according to the economic situation, but people have to buy this product. Okay, then regardless of the price change, okay, the quantity of the quantity of the rice is stable, right? Then it might be less than 1. Okay, not as much as changed the price. In this case, we can say demand curve is inelastic. Okay, demand curve is inelastic. Okay, then let's go to the next. And then in an increase in price increase leads to a decrease in quantity demand, right? This is very natural. This is very basic principle of economy. Once the price increase, the quantity decrease, right? Because the people lose their ability to buy product. Okay, this is very natural economic principle. But how much the quantity demanded will be increased or decreased according to the price increase and decrease. So I told you that is we called elasticity, right? So we can detect whether the demand change according to price change is more than 1 or less or even 0 or infinity. So we have 4 status of demand change, right? So according to the status, we have a different title to name the demand cover, right? We have already learned about that. Okay, then, okay, here then, and then the price lead to, this is very natural, the price lead to a decrease in quantity demand, okay, then that is proportionately small, so total revenue increase, okay, meaning that as much as we have increased, as we raised up the pricing, then naturally the demand will be reduced, but the increased price can cover the decreased demand, so the total revenue will be raised, right? So I told you, and I give you an explanation by the chalk talks, by arithmetic according to increased price and decreased amount. Okay, we have different elasticity, right? Because as the how much once we fixed increased price, we have increased $1 up there, and then we have watching the consequence of revenue by changing the variations of quantity, right? So the quantity reduced from 10 to 100 to 19, 100 to 18, 100 to 17. Different consequences, right? The revenue changed. Sometimes according to the the quantity level, total revenue increased or decreased. So we have to detect this one, whether once we have a price up, then the quantity down, then what can happen? Okay, different consequence. So okay, then let's go to the next draft. Okay, this is another this is the same story I gave you just now, the explanations regarding that. I gave you some explanation for this. This is same illustrations, but I will repeat again, okay, for your easy understanding. Here, look at this is original price pool and $100 quantity. So we just can be multiply this one to obtain the territory, meaning that this territory is the same meaning of revenue, right? This revenue. Okay. This is a point meet together by 4 and by price and quantity 4 multiplier 100, right? Equal 400. Very simple, right? The 400 USD is the revenue. This is a revenue of the seller, supplier. Okay, this is revenue of supplier. This area can be as this was shown. Yeah. Then we have increased here $1. We have increased $1 here. $1 increased. Then point must be moved up to along the pricing because price was increased here. $1 increased, right? and $1 increased. As the $1 increased, then the line meet together can be changed because we have to draw line horizontal from to this point, and at the same time we have to draw down this line to meet the quantity. Okay, this is very basic economic principle. Why? Because the price increase, some articles goes reverse. Okay, once some articles move differently because this is basic principle, but for the necessity or some general product. But in case of a luxurious product, that luxurious product is not the necessity for your human life. In this case, the luxurious price goes reverse, meaning that once price goes up, demand goes up together. Okay, quite different, right? Because they love the price increase, because that kind of luxurious product is loved because the higher price. So once the price goes up, demand goes up. This is quite extraordinary phenomenon. But generally, according to the principle of economy, once price goes up, demand goes down, right? The quantity goes down. Okay, look at this then. We have a $1 increase, then the quantity from 100 and reduced as much as 10. So the total quantity is 19. Okay, even we have a reduced quantity as much as 10, the price rising $1 can cover this damage. Okay, so the total 5 multiply 90 is 450. Okay, look at this. Even we have a reduced quantity, but we have a bigger revenue, right? As much as $50. Okay, then we have a $50 increased. This is the, okay, look at this. Okay, the demand curve is not so much stiff. It's not so much stiff. Okay, this slope is not stiff. Okay, in this case, as this is not so much, this is very stiff, then the variation area, even we have moved the point, but this is very short because of the curve is very steep, right? Very steep. Look at this. Okay, but look at next on the right. This slope is not stiff. Okay, this stiff is very loose here. Then, okay, even we have point to move the same from here, but the area between two is very wide here. Look at this. Okay, this area is demand reduced as much as price increased. Okay, so we have to compare these two. Once the demand curve is stiff and demand curve is not stiff here. Okay, once the demand curve is steep, the variations moving from original point to changed point is very short, meaning that this area can say the quantity area. Okay, the quantity area is small in this case. Okay, when the demand curve is steep. So the meaning of the change is small, quantity small, as much as price increase, then we can call that this graph is inelastic. Okay, inelastic. Okay, inelastic. Understand? The meaning of inelastic is the price, the quantity is not as much as changed. The price changes. Okay, so in this case, once some product is inelastic, even price goes up, the demand curve is inelastic. Okay, look at this, the next one. The graph, this graph is almost lying, right? Almost lying, meaning that not steep. This curve isn't. Then even we have the same increase of a price, but the distance from original and change the point is wider than panel A, comparing to this. Okay, this is very short, but this is very wide. This area is none other than quantity area. Okay, then quantity reduced larger than this area. Correct? Okay, quantity is larger than this area, then we can calculate this one by arithmetic. Okay, look at this. Okay, we have increased of 5 the price multiplier. Look at this. We have as this area is wider than this area. Okay, so this means that we have bigger reductions of quantity. Okay, look at this. This is only 10 reduction, but this is 30 reductions. Right? Then 30 reduction, then we can imagine the amount 70. Then we have a consequence 350 revenue. Okay, this means that we have comparing to original $4.100, we have 50 more reduction of revenue. 50 more reductions, right? More reductions here. Okay, this result is saying that once the demand curve is inelastic and elastic, the consequence will be changed. Okay, consequence will be changed. So this means again has the same meaning. According to the product, which is inelastic or elastic. Okay, the revenue by raising the price will be quite differently changed. So we can estimate by understanding the elastic of demand. Then we can understanding the application and result of elasticity. Okay, the quite different consequence according to the product species. Okay, so we have to consider the product species the product is whether the product is elastic or inelastic. The result of raising price is quite different. Okay. Okay. I hope you understand this one well, and I guess we have more opportunity to understanding this graph, the application of elastic demand. Okay. Okay. One moment. Okay, as you look at this, this illustration showing that the same exploration I did just now, that you can compare the area once the demand curve is inelastic. Okay, this area, look at this. This area is narrow than this area. So even this area is the revenue increased. Okay, look at this. This is very easy. Okay, this is very easy, right? Okay, I will show you this. This area, okay, from original line here, this is from original line, and then from original line, from pricing, so this area was increased revenue by increasing the price, right? Look at this. Okay, this area is this is original area, right? But this is the area as much as increased by increasing pricing. Okay, this area looks apparently bigger than this area, right? This area. This area is the just area lose revenue. Okay? Lose revenue. The losing avenue as the price goes up, because the point move from this point to this. Okay, as the point moving, we have drawn, line to meet 5 and vertically down to quantity right here. Okay, then according to economic principle, this is reduced area, right? And this is increased area. The increased area looks apparently at glance wider than this one, meaning that the revenue will be increased. We can easily detect, right? Okay, but look at this. This area is contrary. Look at this, that. Okay, this area is increased area by increasing pricing, but this area is losing area by increasing pricing. Okay, at glance, apparently you can detect this area is wider than this area, meaning that you have more loss by raising pricing. Okay? For what? Because of the graph shape. This graph is bruised, right? Almost lying. This area, this graph is not bruised. The slope is very steep. Slope is very stiff, meaning that this is an elastic product and this is elastic product. This is the difference between the species of product. Okay? Once we increase the price of an elastic product, we might have increased revenue, but once we have the increased of the elastic product, we will have decreased revenue. Okay? So this can be referred easily by understanding elasticity. Okay? This is the applications of elasticity.